Okay, let's dive into this stack of sources you've given us. We've got excerpts from something called Blood and Moonlight, and right from the jump, it throws us into a world where the city itself feels like it's holding a secret.
Exactly. These pieces read like chapters, pulling back the curtain on a city named Avalon, where the normal rules seem, well, optional. The atmosphere is thick with it from page one.
It opens with this really strong sense of place, Avalon under a blood moon, an eerie glow, the air feeling sharp, metallic, almost primal. It instantly tells you this isn't just any city. Something ancient and hidden is right beneath the surface.
Yeah, it sets the stage perfectly for a reality that feels, ready to fray at the edges.
So our mission in this deep dive is to follow the breadcrumbs through these chapters, tracking the core mysteries and the characters at their heart. Sinclair, Marcus Wren, Adrian, and a character we first meet as Ashlynn, whose identity turns out to be far more significant. We're going to extract the most important insights, figure out the hidden reality unfolding in Avalon, and understand what makes these characters tick within it.
Right. Think of this as getting the essential story and its implications, guided by what your sources reveal. Will help you navigate the twists and turns without getting lost in the details.
Let's jump in. So we first encounter a character named Sinclair right at the start, chapters 1 and 2. They're in a high-rise, bathed in the light of that unsettling blood moon, feeling this profound sense of unease. But then, something truly strange happens.
Mm-hmm. They see their reflection in a glass door, but it's distorted, wrong. It's described as an other me, with eyes that glow and a smile that isn't Sinclair's own.
And this isn't just a fleeting image, is it?
No, it's persistent, unsettling. Sinclair apparently first saw it years ago after a fire. Though others, well, they dismiss it as trauma, the sources make it clear it's far more than that.
And Sinclair isn't alone up there. They're with Marcus Wren, a figure presented as powerful, controlling. He seems to have deliberately drawn Sinclair here.
Right, saying these cryptic things about the stirring and hinting at Sinclair's true nature, what you are. Very ominous.
And then the physical manifestation occurs.
Yeah, a searing pain. And this glowing crescent mark appears under Sinclair's skin. This isn't an accident. It seems triggered, maybe by the blood moon's peak in Marcus's words.
Waking up after this intense event, Adrian is there. And Adrian offers the first layer of explanation, right?
He does. He says Marcus lit the fuse, implying he initiated something predetermined. The mark is now in Sinclair, signifying that a trial has begun, and crucially, that Sinclair is a key.
So this tells us it's not just some random weirdness. It's part of a deliberate process, a test, linked to a bigger purpose.
Exactly. Then we briefly see Sinclair back in their normal life, working at the Vault headquarters. It's this sterile, mundane corporate setting.
Yeah, a huge contrast to the internal upheaval and the strange mark literally under their skin.
And Marcus summons Sinclair to his office there. He confirms the stirring, says he's accelerated the timeline for this trial. His words are incredibly chilling. Things like, you were born under the eclipse, because you survived the fire, and because you're stronger than you think. But the most unsettling line is probably, you don't have to. You already were.
Wow, that establishes Marcus's unsettling control, hinting Sinclair's destiny wasn't a choice, but inevitable.
Pretty much. Then in chapter 3, the sources delve deeper. Sinclair's dreams start shifting. They're less like dreams, more like remembered events, the fire, strange rituals, symbols.
And that other me reflection again.
Yeah, actually stepping into flames in these memories.
Okay, so Adrian steps in as a guide here, takes Sinclair to a hidden library.
Right, the vault, beneath the Historical Society. And this is where some fundamental truths about this world start coming out. Sinclair learns they are one of the Unbound.
The Unbound. Okay, what does that mean, according to the sources?
Well, it's a key concept. They're described as being born each cycle, neither fully human nor fully divine, something in between. The trial is essentially the crucible that determines if they survive this transformation or ascend to a new state. It's a critical threshold.
And here's a devastating revelation. The fire from years ago wasn't accidental.
No, it was an awakening, a purge. Sinclair's family died because of this. This wasn't just trauma. It was a targeted event tied directly to Sinclair's nature. It adds this layer of, horror and grief.
That's heavy. Then later, Sinclair comes face to face with the other me again in a church.
Yeah, and this time, the reflection isn't just an image. It speaks. It claims to be the true Sinclair, the part that was suppressed to stay human. And it explicitly states that they're no longer human.
So that confrontation is pivotal for understanding Sinclair's internal conflict, their transformation.
Absolutely. Then, searching the Vault archives, they find these old Project Eclipse files, mentions of lunar events, Unbound variants, and this really intriguing phrase, the third flame is awake.
The third flame. So the first clear sign that Sinclair and Adrian aren't the only key players. There's a third, Unbound, active and important.
Exactly. And they uncover this blurry image from the 3 children. Sinclair and Adrian are identifiable, but the third child is separate, standing apart.
And there's a note.
A chilling one. Third still missing. Watch the others. Do not let them meet. This sets up a major mystery and highlights the danger this third figure represents, especially to the other 2.
When they confront Marcus and Adrian about this, what happens?
Marcus admits they lost track of the third, describing them as unstable. Adrian adds a really personal layer, reveals the third was his sibling, not by blood, but marked like them, separated due to instability.
Instability how?
Tried to kill them both in the past, and apparently succeeded, at least temporarily, with Sinclair. So the stakes are raised dramatically. The trial could become an outright war if this unstable third figure returns.
Wow. And chapter 3 ends with Sinclair smashing a mirror.
Yeah, but they don't see the reflection anymore. The sources suggest this signifies the transformation is progressing. Sinclair is becoming that other self.
Okay, so moving into the next part of the sources, chapter 4, the perspective shifts. We meet Ashlynn. She also has a pulsing mark, and she's getting warnings from Adrian.
That's right. Adrian's warning her. And Marcus interacts with Ashlynn too, but his approach is different. It's very clinical.
Clinical how?
He's focused on her journal, her dreams, these symbols she's recording. He connects them to autopsy symbols, someone named Dr. Harrow, and something called Project Erebus. It suggests Marcus is investigating the Unbound phenomenon, not just as a power player, but maybe from a scientific or investigative angle too.
Interesting. And Adrian shows up to Ashlynn as well.
Yeah, indicating he's part of some faction dealing with marked people.
Yeah.
His ID is forged, suggesting he's operating outside official channels. Adds to that whole hidden world feeling.
Then things get dangerous for Ashlynn.
Very. A wraith attacks her in her dorm, a clear sign that marked individuals are being hunted by supernatural forces.
But Ashlynn fights back.
Surprisingly, yes. She uses an untrained power, the binding flame, destroys the wraith, catches Adrian completely off guard.
So this leads Adrian to explain the need for a binding pact.
Exactly. It's another key concept. A protective blood pact with a guardian, which Adrian offers to be for Ashlynn. The sources describe the ritual blades, mingling blood, permanent marks, a bond.
That there's a risk?
A big one. Adrian warns an unstable bond could be destructive or, significantly, attract the third Unbound. And then the major reveal from this interaction.
What's that?
Ashlynn and Marcus are also Unbound, which, shifts the dynamic quite a bit. And the chapter ends with the chilling observation that the third figure was watching them.
Okay, chapter 5 shifts back to Adrian. He's investigating Sinclair Holdings, the corporation, and this is where we get a major piece of the puzzle.
Yeah, a huge one. The sources revealed that Sinclair, Adrian's father, is being ritualistically drained by Marcus and a group called the Board.
Drained? For what?
Their goal is dominion over the veil, which the sources describe as what lies beyond their reality. This exposes the corporate structure's deep involvement in the supernatural. Marcus's power isn't just personal. He's part of something bigger, more sinister, seeking control over, existence itself.
But Adrian intervenes.
He does. Uses an obsidian pendant, described as a Sinclair relic, shatters the ritual connection, and rescues his father.
And his father explains.
Right. Sinclair Sr. explains, the Board got too greedy. These rituals were originally meant to preserve Avalon, not exploit it. He confirms the veil is thinning, the Unbound are like echoes of gods, and Marcus is seeking some kind of rebirth or ascension. The immediate need. Find the remaining Unbound.
And Adrian himself starts feeling this connection to the veil.
Yeah, a whisper, a sense of seeing beyond normal reality. Suggests his own abilities tied to his bloodline are starting to wake up.
Okay, chapter 6 takes us back to a Sinclair perspective. Probably Adrian's father, right? Acting like a hunter or guardian now.
Seems like it. He's waiting for Adrian, sensing an Unbound signature nearby, and we learn Marcus is missing. Last seen in the Barrens.
The Barrens, described as off-limits, cursed, a scar in reality. Why was Marcus there?
Investigating veil tremors. And this section introduces the Crimson Accord, a sacred pact binding bloodlines to defend the veil. The text says this accord is broken. That's why Avalon is changing. The Unbound are here. The rift to beyond the veil is widening. The Barrens seem corrupted because the accord failed there.
So Sinclair Sr. goes into the Barrens.
Finds a cracked obelisk, a binding point, and Marcus's blade. Touching the blade triggers a vision. Marcus running, screaming, maybe growing wings, and hearing a whisper. One of three. Bound by choice. Break the pact. Claim the price.
Suggesting Marcus made some kind of choice, linked to the Unbound and the broken accord.
Looks that way. And then the third Unbound appears. Right there in the Barrens.
What are they like?
Described in crimson silk, violet eyes, identified as the Weaver of Whispers, she confirms Marcus is with her, learning her truths. She's ancient, bound to something monstrous, wants to burn the world, then vanishes, leaving a sigil.
So Marcus is now allied with this. Weaver of Whispers, the unstable third.
Seems so. It's a major turning point.
Okay, part 3 of the sources really digs into identity and unraveling these huge lies. Chapter 7, Adrian wakes up in a clinical facility, a sanctum compound. His first thought is Ashlynn.
Right. And he learns the conflict isn't random, it's a structured war. The sanctum wants to preserve balance between mortal and supernatural worlds. The revenants want to shatter it. The Unbound are pivotal. And Ashlynn, taken by revenants into the subveil.
The subveil, a different layer of reality. Dangerous.
Very. And we learn why Ashlynn is such a target. Her lineage, she's more than human. Fey blood, part of something older, born from a convergence of powers.
Makes sense why she's so important, and Adrian trains at the sanctum.
Intense training. Controlling moonlight energy described as a curse feeding on emotion combat, resilience, stuff you'd need to survive the subveil.
Does he find Ashlynn?
He connects with her through a mirror, confirms she's alive in the subveil. He's determined to rescue her, gets a moon-forged steel blade, serious magical hardware, and steps through a veilway, like a portal, into the subveil.
Chapter 8 takes him deeper into the Black Quorum.
Yes, the Black Quorum. Avalon's hidden, ancient, incredibly powerful overseers, maybe even above the sanctum or the dominion we've heard about.
And they don't exactly welcome him.
Not at all. They accuse him immediately of breaking binding law, maybe linked to Ashlynn, using that binding flame earlier, and claiming territory.
They make him an offer?
Join them. Be their asset, their proxy. But the price is steep. Absolute obedience, silence, willingness to sacrifice loved ones.
Does he take it?
No, Adrian refuses. And then something incredible happens.
What?
He steps into witchfire, this ancient, potent magic, and it obeys him, marks him as an heir. A veiled figure emerges, says Adrian is heir to the broken flame, an empty throne, his father's seat.
Whoa, so this solidifies his place in this higher supernatural hierarchy, directly linked to his father's power struggles.
Exactly. And later, Marcus tells Ashlynn that he was also approached by the Quorum, refused, and got hexed or possessed for it. Adds another layer to Marcus's motives, maybe explaining some of his actions.
Okay, Chapter 9 brings us back to the Sinclair protagonist from the start, the one tied to Adrian.
Right. And he's haunted by Adrian's presence, senses the third Unbound nearby, angular, pale, violet eyes in some chapel ruins. The third actively taunts him, calls Adrian his anchor and your chain, highlighting that complicated bond.
Then things escalate. Protocol Ashfall.
Yeah, Adrian gets word from Juno. Marcus has invoked Protocol Ashfall, a kill directive. Targeting Sinclair. Adrian raises to stop it.
Leads to a confrontation.
Big one. Rooftop. Sinclair versus Marcus and Dominion enforcers.
Yeah.
Marcus's view. Sinclair is compromised, an Unbound infection, a threat to the city, and importantly, a threat to Adrian.
But Adrian intervenes.
Steps right between them, declares they'll have to go through him.
Rep.
That act of loyalty. It causes Sinclair's power, his rage to falter. Marcus backs down, for now. But the lines are drawn.
Heavy stuff. How does the chapter end?
With a quiet moment. Sinclair and Adrian in the chapel ruins. Adrian admits he's scared but won't abandon him. And that connection seems to quiet the monster, the darker urges, inside Sinclair. Shows how important their bond is.
Okay, chapters 10 and 11. Marcus, Adrian, and Ashlynn search a ruined sanctuary, find a piece of the Codex Umbra.
And realize someone is actively cleaning up the past, targeting knowledge or people connected to it.
The Codex needs Unbound blood to work.
Right. So they seek one out, find a dying young Unbound under Pier 12, whispers sanctuary before dying, like they were trying to reach safety there.
And then the archivist appears.
Yeah, a new player. Tall, silver mask, obsidian cloak. Claims to have edited the truth in the Codex. Controls Shadewalker's unsettling mirror constructs. Ties back into that whole reflection theme.
Ashlynn sees her reflection again, the other me.
She does, but this time it shatters. Seems like a key moment in her transformation.
And then a vault of mirrors opens for her because of her bloodline.
Exactly. Revealing the Codex's heart when Ashlynn touches the shard they found. Powerful ones. The fire. Birth under the blood moon. A dagger, a family crest. The name Sinclair. And the archivist, watching her in these visions.
Leading to the big reveal.
The huge reveal. Ashlynn declares, my name isn't Ashlynn, it's Alara Sinclair. She's the heir to the Sinclair family, erased by the Dominion, the last Sinclair heritage buried.
And the city reacts.
Instantly. Blood moon rises, alarms wail, archivist smiles. Her true identity is a critical event, a turning point for Avalon. She accepts it. Let them come.
So now she's Alara Sinclair. What's the next move?
They decide, with a guide named Kale, to go to the Eastern Hollow. Revenant territory the Dominion avoids, seeking allies or knowledge outside Dominion control.
And Alara feels a connection there, in the tunnels.
A deep connection. Here's the city's pulse, whispers. A Revenant actually recognizes her, guides her to a hidden temple, shows her lineage resonates even with enemies of the Dominion.
What do they find in the temple?
Revelations. A fresco showing history in reverse. Blood moon, 3 figures, fire, shadow, and chains, city burning. Text about a lost heir unshackling the past. Alara identifies with the figure in chains.
And the Eye of Veritas?
An orb that reveals buried truths. Alara touches it, gets visions confirming everything. Her identity, her family's purge, being chained in a lab, blood drained into a codex.
Confirming the fresco and the shard visions. And the biggest realization.
The stunning conclusion. The Dominion isn't hunting the Unbound. They're creating them. They've been fighting a lie. The Dominion isn't just suppressing, they're manipulating, manufacturing the conflict for their own ends.
That changes everything. So chapter 12, they meet Seraphine.
High Seer of the Eclipse Order, loyal to the Sinclair bloodline. Seraphine explains the Dominion's grand deception. They sealed Alara's memories to anchor their lie and control the city's collective memory using 7 pillars of obfuscation.
7 pillars. So the path forward is to destroy them. Make Avalon remember.
Exactly. The first pillar is under the orphanage where Alara was taken. They navigate a veiled ward. The pillar isn't just stone, it's a sentinel, a being guarding the lie.
How does Alara fight it?
Declares she was born permitted, has the inherent right to break Dominion laws. Battles the sentinel, which weaves through time. She channels blood moonlight, creates a spear of memory, shatters it.
And the effect is immediate.
Immediate. Avalon remembers. First wave. City blinks, old maps, names reappear in people's minds. A statue of a girl with a locket materializes. The Dominion knows instantly, retaliates by resigning a commune. High stakes.
They find sanctuary. But Alara is changing.
Yeah, in an observatory. Marcus notes her veins are glowing as the city remembers. 6 pillars left, deeper in Avalon.
Okay, part 4. The costs of this awakening become clear in chapters 13 to 15. Avalon's stirring, people remembering. But Alara, she pays a price.
A huge personal price. The sources show she starts losing her own memories, her mother's face, her own name, as she gives the city back its truth. That's the cost of being the key.
Meanwhile, the Dominion Council knows what's happening. 2 pillars down.
Right. And Chancellor Viril, the architect of the Veil, reveals their twisted plan. Alara must finish the cycle, awaken all the pillars so the Dominion can seize the unleashed magic for themselves. They want her to succeed, but only so they can steal the prize.
Grim. And Seraphine locates the 3rd Unbound.
Uses a ritual, points north to the ice spires. That's a thread for later.
Okay, the next pillar, chapter 13. Catacombs beneath the Obsidian Archives, guarded by the Mirrorling.
Yeah, a terrifying entity. Key concept here. The Mirrorling preys on doubt, unravels identity, makes the journey through the veiled archives a psychological nightmare.
Alara gets separated, faces reflections.
Exactly. Reflections of herself laughing, crying, screaming, visions accusing her, calling her a mistake, saying she'll destroy them all. It's a direct assault on her sense of self.
How does she beat it?
In a moment of defiance, closes her eyes, declares, not afraid. The battle is mental. It tears through thought, memory. She channels blood moonlight again, grounds herself. I remember who I am, unleashes her will, shatters the mirroring. The obsidian obelisk holding Dominion code unravels.
And Avalon remembers again. Second wave.
Second major wave. City gasps. People recall deeper lost neighborhoods, stolen pasts. Dominion glamours, their illusions, start visibly unraveling across the city.
Now, chapter 14, the sources place it later, but it fits here chronologically. The Bastion Gardens pillar.
Right, makes more sense here. Alara decides not to use force, but truth. Via the chorus of the veiled underground memory keepers, rebels.
They find Vare, the leader.
Plan a strike. The chorus sings forbidden truths, weaving memory magic. Alara at the center, opens herself. Her power blooms, pillar shatters. The crowd there remembers lost groves, forgotten families. Dominion spell broken in that area.
But there's retaliation.
Brutal. Dominion sentinels attack, break the chorus. Vare gives a dying warning. The next memory is hidden under the Library of Echoes.
Which leads directly into Chapter 15, the Library of Echoes.
Right. Ruins, memory vault beneath. Contains the mirrored book. Potential, but dangerous. Alara touches it, sees a vision of a different Avalon, a path not taken. Confirms the cost. The more she uses it, the more it demands.
And the next pillar is different.
Yeah, a major reveal. It's not physical. It's inside her own mind. To break it, she has to let go of part of herself, her name, lineage, memories of being Ashlynn.
Does she do it?
She chooses to. Sacrifices that part of her former self, burns her name from the mirrored book with pure will, shatters the pillar in her mind.
I'm unleashing another wave of memory.
Another huge wave. The sources emphasize these are stolen pasts being revealed, highlighting the Dominion's deliberate theft.
Okay, finally, Chapters 16 and 17. The search for the third Unbound in the Ice Spires.
They go north, pass through the gate of frozen memory, which melts, and they encounter the third Unbound.
What's it like? A silver and black fractured mask?
Yeah. And it reveals its true nature. Not really a person. A sentience. An echo of the city's pain, what was suppressed and sacrificed to create the veil, born from forgotten suffering.
So the price for binding the final gate, it's not Alara's life.
No. It's the part of her still clinging to who she was before the pillar started falling, before she fully became Ashlynn Sinclair, the heir. She has to make a final choice about who she is.
She sees visions, a memory, a hall of mirrors.
Right, the memory of her mother being taken, a mirror hall with versions of herself terrified, old, fire-eyed, not human. The third says she's all of them, must choose one to bind the gate. That version becomes her truth.
Which one does she choose?
The part that remembers. She binds the gate with that.
And the third's mask melts, revealing
A young woman. Another huge reveal. She was the Dominion's first seer, erased from history. The one who warned them their fabricated reality, the lattice, would rot. She's the original truth they buried.
Wow. Does she help Alara?
Gives her a final gift, a silver glass shard. Shows the way to the very last seal inside the Dominion Citadel, beneath the high throne, bound in truth and blood.
But there's a catch.
A critical one. Alara must go alone. The third explains if she arrives with allies, the Dominion spins it as war, retaliates against the city. Alone, they can't strike without unmasking their own lies.
So the sources leave us there, Alara with the shard, knowing she has to walk into the lion's den alone.
Exactly. Carrying the weight of Avalon's past and future, heading towards the Dominion's heart.
So looking back at this deep dive through the sources, wow, we've seen the protagonist transform from someone experiencing inexplicable phenomena, a mark, a strange reflection, to discovering she is Ashlynn Sinclair, the lost heir, tied to ancient powers and this hidden war.
Yeah, she's uncovered this grand lie at the city's foundation, perpetuated by the Dominion through memory manipulation, anchored by these pillars of obfuscation. She learns she's the key to restoring truth, but at such a significant personal cost.
And along the way, figures like Adrian and Marcus have played incredibly complex roles. Allies, power players, sometimes obstacles, each wrestling with their own pasts and positions within this unfolding supernatural reality. It's intricate.
The core concepts here are fascinating. The nature of the unbound, the mysterious veil, the insidious power of controlling memory, the weight of identity and ancestry, and the sacrifices required to gain and wield true knowledge in a world built on lies.
It really makes you reflect, doesn't it, on the power of history, personal and collective, and what happens when it's deliberately buried. Finding your true self is one thing, but what if that self is tied to a reality that demands you give up pieces of who you thought you were?
It leaves us with a powerful thought, doesn't it? If Alara succeeds and Avalon remembers everything, all the stolen pasts, all the lies the city was built on, what does a place, a society, do with that kind of overwhelming truth?
Or perhaps, what does it truly mean to be the key if unlocking the truth for everyone else requires you to let go of the very identity you fought so hard to reclaim? Something to ponder as Alara heads towards that final seal.